kick it off because I know we have a lot to get to today. I want to thank you all for joining us. And just a few reminders before we go ahead. Like I mentioned, speaker view is going to be the best viewing experience. You can top right, you can toggle through from gallery view to speaker view. Again, like I mentioned with the chat, any questions, please go ahead and drop them in the chat. We're going to be taking questions as we go along. I'm going to do my best to grab as many as we can, and please don't be shy. These chats are vehicles for you to help grow your business, and the questions help the content enormously. So we want to sort of involve as many of those questions as we can. Again, for anyone who's missed any videos, we have them hosted on our training page, and we have them on our YouTube page. I'm going to drop the link to our YouTube page in case you want to subscribe and get a notification every time we host a new video. Another reminder, I just want to announce that next week we're going to have Sonia Weston, CEO of your Premier Travel Services, here to talk about how to remain current on travel trends and why that's so important, especially right now for all travel advisors to do. As always, we're going to shoot the link out right after we wrap up here so you can register and get that on your calendar. I'm really excited about that, and I hope you all can join us next week too. Also, anyone who's been on a lot of these, I know this is our 9th one, but I'd love to sort of keep it productive as we go along and make any changes that you think maybe could make this a little more impactful for you and your business. I'm going to drop my email in the chat for you to message me in case you have any suggestions or any recommendations for me and for our team as we go forward. Okay, so with that out of the way, I want to welcome everyone again and welcome our 2 guests to the show. We're going to have Tiffany Hines of Global Escapes and Jamie Jones of WhirlAway Travel to talk about how travel advisors can start implementing service fees. Now, this is a topic that's come up on essentially every single one of these so far, and I want to jump right into it. But first, I want to say welcome to Tiffany and Jamie, and thank you so much for lending us your time.
Thank you. Absolutely. Glad to be here.
So I think let's go ahead and jump right into it. You two have been, we spoke earlier in the week, and you two have been so passionate about your business models and about charging service fees and about the value of the travel agent community. I want to just kick it off with sort of 2 basic questions. Why should travel advisors charge fees, and maybe why shouldn't travel advisors charge fees? I don't know which one of you want to handle this. I'm going to do my best to sort of juggle both of you today, and you guys are both going to be great. But let's kick it off with Tiffany. I mean, why do you think travel advisors should charge fees?
Well, it's pretty simple. In my view, if you work for free, it's a hobby. It's not a profession. And so I think it's about really positioning yourself as a professional. You don't go visit a doctor or an attorney or an accountant without expecting to pay an office visit fee or something of the sort. And most people that have been in the industry for any extended period of time have a wealth of knowledge, just numerous connections around the globe, and that is worth something. So that's my simplest answer.
And what about you, Jamie? I mean, you follow sort of Tiffany's line of thinking there?
I absolutely follow Tiffany's line of thinking. Tiffany and I are good friends and travel industry colleagues. We're worth every single penny that we charge, and probably a lot more. We provide our clients a breadth of knowledge and expertise, and we should charge for the service that we provide. There's a reason that clients come to us to plan their travel, and we should charge for it.
So we've gotten a ton of questions this week when we announced the topic, and I want to go through all of them. But I do want to get started with what you two spoke to me about earlier in the week. You both mentioned that maybe the hardest part for any sort of business change, for any move to a fee model, is just getting started. I'm wondering, how did you guys get your start in charging fees? And I mean, was there ever a time when you didn't charge a fee, and what made you make the change?
Okay, so there was a time when we didn't charge fees. We've been in business for 32 years, so we have been around since the days of commissions from airlines and all of this. And it wasn't until probably 10 or 12 years after that we really started charging fees for leisure travel. What happened was, for me, it was a situation where I had an infant at home. I was rearranging my schedule to come into the office to meet with clients, I realized I was giving them just enough information for them to take my knowledge and expertise and turn around and go take care of everything on their own. And I just decided no more. I mean, my time is valuable. I was taking time away from my family, and I took my job and my knowledge very seriously. And I just decided I was not going to do that anymore. So we started implementing a fee in the way of doing a kind of a plan to go deposit initially. And that allowed us to kind of get comfortable with what those conversations should look like. And as we gained the confidence over the years of having that conversation with clients and explaining all of the things that we would be doing for them, we began to charge a fee on top of whatever their trip cost was. And then over the years, we've just continued to perfect that more and more to a point now where, you know, we really only spend about 15 to 20 minutes with somebody explaining what we do and how we can solve their problem. Because that's what you've got to remember. They're coming to you because they have a problem. Either they have a lack of time, lack of knowledge, or they're just, you know, they're not quite sure if there's something out there that they're missing and they don't want to pull the trigger on their own. So, you know, once we got really confident with that, then we've just continued over the years to increase our fees. And so much so a couple of years ago, we increased our fees because we had more demand than our consultants could handle. And so we really increased our fees as a way to kind of almost limit the new people that we would take on, excuse me, and it didn't really scare anybody away. So it was mind-boggling.
I mean, I'm curious, Tiffany. I want to ask you the same question, Jamie. But I'm curious, Tiffany, if you could tell us about your average fees, and I mean, what do you charge? Is it a standard fee, or is it client by client?
No, it is. It really is situation by situation. We have a fee guideline in our office, and we purposely do not have this published on our website because we always want to be fair. The way we charge really is dependent on how many people are traveling, the scope and complexity of the vacation, how many cities are involved, how many modes of transportation are involved. So, you know, there's a lot that goes into planning an itinerary for somebody. And, you know, the days of people thinking that it's just an easy, my big fat Greek wedding, I think it showed it best with the woman in the travel agency, you know, and people think of us as just point and click and it's done. There is a lot more that goes into planning itineraries than just jumping on a computer and, you know, hitting a few keystrokes. And so yeah, but our fees start at around $325, and that's, you know, again, when we talk to people initially, what we do is we let them know that we do charge fees. We want to be very transparent up front. We don't want to waste their time, and we certainly don't want them to spend too much of our advisors' time if they are just right off the bat not interested in paying a fee. I think, you know, the bigger issue that Jamie and I have talked about over the years is that it really is a mindset. I mean, you really almost have to take a step back before you even get to the point of charging fees. And you have to think about, who is my ideal client? Who is my favorite client? Who do I enjoy working with? And chances are some of those very best clients that you have, they would probably prefer for you to charge a fee, because then they're not going to feel like they're abusing you and using up too much of your time. And they're also going to look at it as a way for you to limit your time and make sure that you're providing them the quality that they're expecting. When you're trying to be all things to all people, that's a really dangerous territory to get into.
Yeah, just really quick, Tiffany, is your fee that you charge, you said you started with the lowest one, but I mean, is it per person on your trip, or is it per booking?
No, that's typically per room or per reservation. it always depends on, you know, how many people are traveling, again, how many cities. If it's a multi-generational trip and the grandparents are paying for the entire extended family to go and it's one form of payment, we take all of those things into consideration. You know, again, we always want to be fair. So we kind of really step back, and our advisors have the ability to really kind of look at the big picture, look at the components of the trip that they're going to be booking, and, you know, is there going to be revenue that they're going to be getting from the supplier? But as we all know right now, being too dependent on supplier revenue is also dangerous territory. And we've all in the last 4 months seen a lot of our revenue that was due to come to us as trips have gotten canceled get refunded back to our clients. And you know, the suppliers, we know the suppliers have worked really, really hard to do the right thing and take care of the clients, and we appreciate that. But in my opinion, the business model is still a little bit broken. There needs to be some things that need to be kind of adjusted and corrected there.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And I also think moving to a fee model because you have too many clients is also sort of a great way to move. Jamie, I see sort of questions coming in about people who want to make the move. And I want to pose that same question to you. I mean, what was the hardest part about you getting started for yourself? How did you get started charging fees? And how has your experience been so far with them?
Sure, absolutely. So I come from a similar background to Tiffany. We're both second generation agency owners, but I joined the industry as a second career. And when I came into our agency, we were charging fees for airline tickets and very minimal fees for the travel planning, you know, cruises, tours, FITs, and whatnot. And you know, I took a step back and I looked at all of the work that our advisors were doing on behalf of the clients. And I said, this is crazy. You guys aren't charging enough for everything that you do. So I looked at it from an outsider coming in and then did some research, did some Nolan Burris training way back when, and really started to work on the consultation process that we're doing with our clients and how we can, you know, better serve them and better present ourselves as professionals in that area. One of the things that I'm really passionate about is, you know, it's not just about charging the fee. It's about the consultation that you're doing with a client, the questions that you're asking, not just about the trip that they're coming to you to plan, but to understand their travel history, what their interests are, what their likes and dislikes are, what their day-to-day is, because we're not just booking travel. We're creating memories that are going to last a lifetime. Hopefully they're good memories. And we are, you know, we're really trying to personalize and customize these travel experiences. So whether it's a cruise or a tour, we're not just doing the cruise, we're doing the shore excursions, and we're helping them really curate an experience that is very unique to them and special to them. And so that's where our value comes in. And we do that as professionals. I mean, in the travel industry, we all love to travel. This is our, you know, this is our livelihood and this is our passion. And we share that with our clients. We bring a value to our clients that we deserve to get compensated for. That's why they're coming to us. That's not why they're going and clicking online.
So I want to ask you the same question. I mean, a lot of people are wondering about amount they want to charge their clients. What are your average fees? What do you charge? And another question that's come up, I wonder if you could answer is, what do you call your fee to your clients? A lot of people seem to be looking for some different language to tell their clients that they're going to charge them a consultation fee on top of their sort of vacation pay.
Absolutely. So our minimum fee is $300. 9 times out of 10, we're charging more than that. It's anywhere from $300 to a couple thousand, depending on the complexity of the trip, the number of travelers, you know, exactly what we're doing. And so when we do that consultation, I need to know, you know, is it multiple hotels? Is it multiple transfers? Am I doing dining reservations, spa appointments? Because we don't just do components for our clients that are commissionable. We do everything for them. So from soup to nuts, A to Z, we handle everything for our clients. In terms of the other question that you asked was, remind me.
What do you call your fee?
Oh, our fee, sorry. So when I do my consultation with my clients and I ask all the questions, and then maybe like 2% of the time is talking about the actual trip because I want to understand how I can plan that trip for them. I ask them if they would like to hire me. And when you say that, there's already it's already implied that you have a fee to be hired, just like an attorney gets hired to work on your behalf. We have, we've bounced around. Right now we call it our professional services fee or our professional booking fee, just depending on what exactly it is. Our planning, professional planning fee. We always put professional in front of it. There have been clients that have come to me because of the referrals that I receive that have said, I understand you have a retainer. What is that retainer? So, I don't like to get too stuck on what we call it, but it's really about how you present yourself. You can call it whatever you want, but it's really about how you present yourself and your professionalism and the service that you're going to provide for that client.
Yeah, and I totally agree too. I think a lot of people get hung up on things like the language, and I think once you have that initial consultation, that's the sort of the time to inform your clients about what's happening. So we have a ton of questions coming in about sort of just generally discussing to clients who maybe haven't experienced the fee yet, why you're going to start charging them. But first, I do want to run through some fee models that advisors can start to consider. I know you guys do things differently. Jamie, I know you do a lot of FIT, but I'm wondering, I know there's 4 or 5 fee models that we want to touch on. I wonder if you guys could go through them and maybe sort of describe each one and maybe see if anyone in the chat, maybe it fits them best. But I know there's non-refundable deposits, there's annual retainers, there's subscription services, there's annual fees. I know there's a lot of ways to take it, but I wonder if you guys could maybe touch on them and explain the benefits of each one.
Yep, absolutely. So one that Tiffany touched on that she started with was the plan to go fee. And so with that is, asking for a commitment up front and then applying that to the trip if they decide to book with you, but it's non-refundable. So if somebody pays that fee and you do all of the work and they walk, then you're still compensated for your time and that you put in, time and research that you put into putting a proposal together for them. If they cancel their trip, you're still compensated. You're not reliant on commissions. Another type of fee is, just a professional fee. So something that you're going to collect upfront prior to doing any work, prior to putting any proposals together. And that's our fee model right now, is that we do collect professional fees upfront, and that's the same Tiffany does as well, so that we are compensated for the time and research that we're putting into putting a proposal together. If they take that proposal and they decide to, if it's an FIT, piecemeal it and put it together, or if they want to take our recommendations for a cruise that we've put together based on the consultation and the type of client that they are and what their interests are, that's, the recommendations that are going to fit them, they're still compensated for the time that we took to put those proposals together. Another type is the annual retainer, and there are quite a few agencies that do this. They range anywhere from, I think I've seen $1,000 or $1,500 a year to handle that amount of travel services, up to $25,000 plus a year. And it really depends on your clientele and what you want to provide. So that's something that we are actually looking at as an agency for a portion of our clients, because we have a demanding clientele that wants, more access and more service from us. And then there are also a few agencies that are doing hourly. So they're charging by the hour. And I love hourly because we are professional. It is definitely a little bit more difficult to track time, especially when we're doing lots of multitasking. But there are agencies that have implemented this and been really successful with it, but it takes a lot of dedication and it takes a lot of, being very mindful of tracking your hours. I would recommend that, internally you take a look at your hours, because part of charging fees is understanding what your hourly worth is. And so it is really helpful to understand that if I'm going to take 10 hours to plan an FIT that has commissionable and non-commissionable components in it, or all commissionable, it doesn't really matter because I'm making the best recommendation based on my client's needs, that you understand how many hours you're putting into it and what your worth is. You know, I think that many of us find that we put a lot of time into these bookings and they're frustrating because we don't get paid a lot. And when you're actually getting compensated for the work that you're doing, you feel a lot better about yourself, and you also feel a lot better about helping that client when they need something.
Yeah, and I think those are all great points, especially during this time. I know you mentioned commissions, but I know a lot of suppliers have protected commissions. I mean, ocean cruises have been great, but I know a lot of advisors lost out on commissions and put in work for cancellations where they didn't really get anything out of it the last few months. So I think it's important to remember that a lot of people are scared right now. But I mean, Tiffany, you mentioned to me earlier in the week that right now might be the best time to start considering fees.
I think it is. I think right now is the absolute best time to just completely revisit your business model. You know, we all have a lot of time on our hands right now. What do you want your business to look like going forward? What kind of clients do you want to work with? What kind of areas or type of travel do you want to specialize in going forward? I think that it again goes back to being transparent. You know, we live right now in very it's very tumultuous right now. I mean, things are really tense and stressful, and people are cynical, and they really, I mean, I feel like the number one hurdle that we face as travel advisors is earning our clients' trust. And you have to kind of think about it like this. If you are only working for that client for the commission that you're going to get paid from the supplier, and I'm just going to take a little excerpt here. I'm going to take a moment to just plug ASTA. For anybody that's on this call today that is not a member of ASTA, I am a national board member. I highly recommend that you join your national trade association. And if you do that, you will have access to a professional fee course at a much discounted rate that is really worth it. But I'm going to pull a little excerpt from this. Fees are not for bookings, they are for you. The commissions are for the things you do for the suppliers. So if you are solely working off of a commission, what that potentially tells a client is that you may or may not have their best interest at heart. And when you charge a fee in addition to the commission that you earn on the back end, the fees are the things that you do for your clients. So like Jamie mentioned, you really have to sit down and list out all of those things that you do. And I can guarantee you, by the time you really think about this, you're going to come up with a list of a minimum of 12 to 20 things you do on every itinerary. And it's a lot of things that you really take for granted. So I think right now it's important to be very honest with your clients and let them know that in essence, your business has burned to the ground, as Jamie mentioned. Everybody is aware that travel is not happening right now. You know, cruise ships are sitting in ports. Airlines, you know, have their airplanes sitting still. And, you know, so it's a really good time to completely start fresh and just be honest and let them know, you know, we work off of a commission before. All of the money that we would have made on this itinerary that we've been working on for 8 or 12 months has now been refunded back to you, when actually a portion of that income was supposed to have come to us. You know, I mean, you can kind of choose how honest and how much you want to share with your clients. I choose to take a positive route. I don't ever want to make my clients feel guilty. You know, and then that brings up another good point. I found over the years that I had a lot of people coming to me wanting help with planning trips to the national parks or to New England. We all know, if we're in the travel industry, some of the best accommodations in New England are the little inns and bed and breakfast. Well, if I'm working for my client, then I should be willing to put together an itinerary that includes some of those best experiences. And I shouldn't have to suffer not making an appropriate amount of income on putting that itinerary together. Again, this goes back to the mindset. You really have to figure out, are you working for the supplier 100%, or are you working for your client? And when you start to change that mindset, I think you can really get a handle on this.
Yeah, and I totally agree, especially now. I mean, I've spoken to a bunch of advisors who are getting really creative in what they're planning. Sandy Anderson, who's a previous guest on this series, mentioned that she's booking RV tours, and it's something that the traditional sort of commission model isn't really suited for. I think that's extremely well said. So I want to get into the conversation that people seem to be asking about in the chat. I got a ton of emails before we kicked off this week about this. There's a ton of travel advisors who have been in this industry for a long time, and they're not used to charging fees, and they have a Rolodex of clients who maybe aren't used to seeing that fee on when they get their invoice. I'm wondering if you could break that down for us. How can you break the news to clients that you are going to start charging fees, and especially those past clients who have been loyal to you and have been with you for a long time?
I can take this one, Tiffany.
Okay.
So my mom is one of those advisors that has been in the industry since the dinosaurs. Thanks, Mom. Totally watching right now. And, you know, she's definitely struggled a bit, especially with her loyal clients that have been with her through thick and thin. And, you know, what I think that we don't do enough is value ourselves enough. And so she had a conversation with a client that she's done a lot of travel for him in the past. And you know, she's always charged him the minimum of what our agency charges. So $300, whatever he's decided to do. And she approached him during this pandemic, because I see a lot of people are commenting about how to implement it now. They struggle with that. And she said, you know, this is all that I've done for you. This is the service that I provide for you, and I'm doing shore excursions, and I've helped you get these refunds. And, you know, we're really looking at our business and deciding how to move forward, because there's a lot of travel agencies that are going to go out of business. Let's just be honest and open with that. I think about 25% of the travel industry agencies are going to go out of business because of this. And she said, you know, coming from, you've used me for a long time. What do you think I'm worth? And now remember, minimum fee $300. He said, is $1,200 fair? So she was floored by that, and that has given her the confidence now to move forward and charge more and explain to her clients that, you know, this is the service that she's providing. This is what she's done for them over the years. And, you know, moving forward, she wants to work with less people, and she wants to provide a higher level of service. So I don't think that we're giving our existing clients enough credit because they really find that we're worth it. Selling a fee to an existing client is a lot easier than selling it to a new client, because those existing clients value us already. They want to work with us. They come back to us time and time again. So it's a hard conversation. Guess what? You're going to lose clients. Those clients that you lose don't value you at all. And you're going to gain clients that want to work with somebody who values themselves.
I think that's well put too. But Tiffany, I want to ask you this one, is that, I mean, I see the comments coming in the chat, and it seems like people are worried about that external conversations with clients, but they're also worried about facing themselves and saying, now I have to sort of step up my game. I'm going to be charging a fee now. Can you talk about sort of the internal battle that people are having about discounting themselves or taking themselves for granted?
Yeah. So, you know, just to piggyback kind of on what Jamie was saying there real quick. I mean, I think right now, again, it's a matter of pick up your phone and call your client and have just a good casual conversation with them, and let them know, you know, what's going on, and that you are looking to change your, you know, the way you have structured your business going forward. And, you know, but the other thing I think is that, and this is something that I realized, that my mother and I lived for many, many years in the scarcity mindset. Scarcity mindset is really dangerous. That's a dangerous place to live, because you are trying to answer that phone as quick as you can. You are you know, grabbing the doorknob as fast as you can. You are taking on anything and everything that you can. That is not working smarter. That's working harder. And so what I have really preached to my team over the last 10 years is that look, we live in a place of abundance. There is an abundance of business, obviously pre-COVID, abundance of business, and there will be again. When we get through this pandemic, there is going to be so much pent-up demand, and there are going to be less of us out there to help people. You really need to live in a place of abundance. You've got to be okay with letting that person go, like Jamie said, that maybe is going to have a problem with paying you a fee. Because, I mean, do you really want to feel like a doormat? Do you really want to feel used and abused, and put a lot of effort into things that don't generate income for you? And, you know, we all probably got into this business because we really enjoy helping people. We're social people, we enjoy helping, and we love to travel and explore the world and share that with other people. But just because we love it doesn't mean it should be a hobby for us, because it is a lot of work. There are a lot of details, and people don't realize how much is, and then not only that, but all of the responsibility that you take on. That, you know, when somebody is in travel and they have a problem, who do they call first? Typically, it's not the supplier, it's their travel consultant. And we're the ones that over the last 4 or 5 months who have been there to help these people really sort through all the rules and all the things that are changing on a daily, weekly basis. And we've heard that time and time again in the last few months, that, you know, the computer sitting on your desk has no emotion. It does not care what you're going through when you have a problem. The humans that you talk to, they care. And that's us. And we know that our suppliers feel the same way. They are the humans at the end helping to provide these services and products for these clients, these bucket list experiences that, you know, one of the things, the sayings we say a lot in our office is, you can always make more money. But when that time is gone, it is gone forever. So if you want to jump into planning this on your own, it's a gamble. If you want to roll the dice and it's a $10 or $20 or $50,000 trip, that's a substantial amount of money, but you can make more. But when it's a week or 2 weeks of your life and it's over and it didn't turn out quite like you wanted, you will never get that time back. So it's all about changing your mindset, and it's about putting things in perspective for people that make sense so that they can wrap their brain around why you are assessing this fee. And we need to begin to be more transparent about how we make our income anyways. Honestly, you know, we really, the majority of our income needs to start to shift. And if you get the Ask a Fee course, you will learn that travel advisors actually started by not making any commissions. We are going to end up coming full circle by the time this is all said and done. Travel advisors started out in the late 1800s, early 1900s. The only income they had was the fee that they charged for planning itineraries. It wasn't until around 1931 or so that commissions came into play from suppliers.
Think about.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, I was just going to piggyback off of Tiffany really quick, if I may. So think about it this way. My business right now, 25% of our revenue comes from fees, and 75% of our revenue comes from commissions. So 25% of my revenue, I control. 75%, I ultimately have no control over. I mean, how many times have we chased down a hotel commission, or you've had to, you know, chase down a commission from somebody? So it doesn't make sense to me that I'm running a business off of 25% of revenue that I can control, and 75% of my revenue that I need to run a successful business is out of my control. I mean, there has to be a shift in mindset that we are professionals. We need to charge as professionals. We need to be compensated as professionals, and that compensation needs to be from the people that we are working for, not the product that we are recommending to them.
Yeah, and I think that's perfectly said, especially these times. I was just going to say, Tiffany, I think that was the first time we've gotten any history of travel advisors on any of these calls, so I think you're a first.
Of course, it's worthwhile. You'll learn a lot.
I see a ton of questions coming in, so I'm gonna just jump right into them. I think this is a lot of people are having specific questions to ask, and I want to see if you guys will be able to answer them. So Colleen Gillette, I think this is a perfect one for you, Jamie. Colleen Gillette asks, she says she's charged fees for FITs for a number of years and also charged for air tickets. What do you charge for booking a cruise or a talk tour or a Trafalgar tour? And if asked, how do you justify booking something that has components already in place?
So we, again, for a simple 7-day cruise, we start at $700, talc $700. We do a ton of talc, and our talc guests pay for it. And we manage everything about the booking. So we're consulting with a client beforehand to make sure that that talc is a good fit, or if it's Trafalgar, that's a good fit. So we're not charging for the booking, we're charging for our consulting. So you have to have a mindset of, you have to have a shift of a mindset to, they're paying for your professional service, and the travel portion is not part of your professional service. So if it happens to be something where the tour company is handling all of the components, then that's our minimum fee, but we're still getting compensated for all of the work that goes into booking that tour, doing the final payments, getting documents together. We provide our clients with the mobile itinerary. We use Access, helping coordinate flights if it's through talc or if it's direct with the airline. So putting everything together is what we charge for, and for our knowledge and expertise and time and energy. And I don't breathe without getting paid. I'm still breathing. I get paid a lot.
So I hope that answered, I think that's a great point. I hope that answered the question. I have another one. And again, Tiffany, I think this is going to be perfect for you. But again, anyone who has a question, drop them in the chat. I just see them constantly scrolling, so I'm going to do my best to grab as many as possible. I also saw a few questions about how to catch this full session, because people have kind of stumbled in early. We're going to host the whole video. We'll shoot it out to you after we wrap up here and after we sort of digest everything. But Tiffany, I have this one from Patty. She says, suppose the client does not like what you have quoted or proposed for them and they decide to move on. Have you had chargebacks because of this? She says, you cannot prevent this from happening. I can certainly see this happening. I'm very curious about this. No one that charges fees has ever answered this question for me.
No, we have not received any chargebacks. We do have standard forms that we use, and last year we actually started using DocuSign. I highly recommend people get some kind of process in place. I think, you know, again, this is just part of being a good business owner. You really need to have an intake process. You really need to have a vetting process. When we have clients come to us initially, we kind of interview them. We allow them to ask us questions, and we interview them. And what we are looking for is, we are looking for the people who seriously are travelers, and you know, they will value our expertise. We look for red flags with people. There's also times when we can sense in a conversation that that person has always done a lot of the travel planning themselves, and what you sometimes realize is that planning the trip is sometimes part of the trip for them. And so, you know, those folks are usually the ones that are going to be, it's going to be a struggle. They're going to have a hard time giving up control. So, you know, I think that it's just a matter of kind of figuring out how you want to kind of, again, going back to figuring out what that ideal client is for you. But we do have forms, and they sign off on our terms and conditions and all of this. We now have a COVID waiver included in our terms and conditions. But you do also, I want to add that you do take on a little bit more responsibility and liability. And there's another course about, you know, the ethics and some of that in the ASTA education series. But you have a responsibility to your client when you start to charge fees. And so, but here's the thing, guys. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody. You know, what I started to see in my office was when my advisors would have a conversation with somebody and they would explain what they're going to do for that client, and then that client would fill out the forms and give them that fee as a deposit, which, by the way, we call our fees services. These are our services that we offer. We do prefer not to use the word fee because it does have a negative connotation. But these are the services that we offer, and for the service that we would provide you for this particular experience, this would be what we are going to charge. What I've started noticing is as people would write out a check or give them their credit card to get started because they're excited, they're eager to get started, the minute they left the room or left the meeting, that advisor was so excited and so, and so really what clients may not realize is it's a win-win for everybody. That advisor is going to step up and work as hard as they can to take care of all the details and really show their A game in that experience, because now they've paid a fee and I've sold my worth and they believe I'm worth it. So now I've got to prove that I'm worth it. So, and then what happens is they start telling all of their friends how wonderful you are. And not only that, they start doing the vetting for you because they're going to let their friends know how you work and what you charge. And it really creates a win-win for everybody.
So we have a lot of people asking if they'll be able to contact you two when the session's over. You guys passed me your email address before this session started, so I'm just going to drop it in the chat. Please be kind to them. I'll just say everyone. I'm sure they'll be happy to answer any questions you have moving forward or any specific issues you might have. I had another interesting question come in, and Jamie, I think this is going to be a good one for you. We had someone ask about, do you charge fees for every client? And I think I know the answer to that, but Christina says, with these type of fees, do you have any millennial clients? She says, I can't imagine a Carnival or a Royal Caribbean cruiser will pay $700 for someone to book them a $3,000 cabin.
So yes, I do. Actually, a good portion of my clientele is young families, and they're actually, I find that they're more willing to pay a fee because they're expecting it. It's part of their generation. I mean, I'm on the cusp of being a millennial. I don't like to claim that. I feel a little bit more Gen X, but I was born in '80s, so I'm kind of a, split mindset. And, again, it goes back to if you have a Carnival client, but they still want the service that you're going to provide, they're paying for the service. It's separating, I'm going to say this again and again, it's separating the service that you provide from the travel experience. So they're very different things. Somebody is hiring me to work on their behalf, and they're paying me for that service. So yes, we have a couple Carnival. We don't do a ton of Carnival, but the Royal Caribbean, some of the more premium market cruises, we will do them, and people will pay for the service because we're doing everything soup to nuts. It's not about just presenting a fee out there and saying, this is what my fee is. Part of having a fee is understanding what you do for that client. It's about understanding, what value you're bringing to that client, what value you're bringing to the travel experience. And so when you start to understand what you're doing and how much value you're bringing, then you're going to be able to, I don't want to say justify, but because it's not about justifying, but you're going to be able to present yourself in a manner that the client's going to say, I don't want to take this trip without your assistance because you know what you're doing. And I say to people, some people are like, oh, I really like planning. And I'm like, that's great. We can plan together. But I plan every single day of the year. You plan once a year for your trip. So there's a big difference in being kind of like the armchair travel advisor that plans once a year for their own trip, and being a professional that has the connections and has the knowledge and understands the differences between A and B and how that's going to apply and benefit or not benefit a client.
Yeah, and I think, again, the power is knowledge, and I can't imagine, especially someone who's had over a decade of experience in this, but I know a lot of people on the call have had that decade. You have to realize that knowledge has a lot of worth, and I completely agree with you, Jamie. So Tiffany, we've had a lot of people, and I'm assuming that it's because of what's happened over the past few months, ask about charging a cancellation fee. Is that something you do? That's something maybe some of your colleagues that you know about do? Can you talk us through that? sort of the practicality of that and how you introduce that to clients?
So yes, we do charge a cancellation fee. Our cancellation fee is a percentage of the total trip cost. Have we completely enforced that over the last 4 or 5 months? Probably not to the extent we should have. But look, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all in this together, and we want to be able to take care of our clients going forward. If we infuriate them, then they're not going to call us again. So we are kind of taking one for the team here, so that we can get through this and get on the other side of this. But yes, in the past, pre-COVID, when we have a situation come up and the trip has to get canceled, we do charge a cancellation fee. You know, one of the benefits of being a small business is that you can be nimble and you can make changes and you can make judgment calls. And that is one of the things that we've always prided ourselves on. We do try to be fair. We always try and look at the situation. I think sometimes companies get so big, they make blanket policies and blanket statements. And part of the reason is because they just have too many people that they can't look at every single situation. But I think that's unfortunate, because at the end of the day, we are all humans walking this planet. And when we lose the human compassion and lose the human relationship, then to me, it's a little bit of a soul suck. And so, you know, we take situations under consideration, and we do have the right to adjust what our typical cancellation fee would be depending on the situation. In 32 years, we have seen some tragic things happen. And, you know, we're not gonna kick somebody while they're down. So, you know, but you have to just look at what your values and morals are as a company or as an advisor, and deal with those accordingly. I mean, I would say the number one thing that has come out of us having a service fee program in place is that our advisors feel valued, our customers feel valued. We are not trying to be all things to all people. We are transparent. We are fair. We work really, really hard. You know, and that's part of it. You've got to decide, are you a booking agent? If you're a booking agent and somebody calls you to book a Carnival cruise and all you're really doing is booking that cruise for them, then no, you can't justify a $700 fee. What else are you providing? And this is something that everybody needs to take some time to figure out. How can you stay relevant? How can you add to the process and keep yourself in the process and keep yourself relevant? If you're not relevant, you're not worth a fee. And so, you know, that's part of it, I think, is kind of taking a deep dive into that. And again, you know, just start. My thing is, you just got to get started. It's never going to get any easier until you start having these conversations. And the second thing is, you are going to lose some clients, and you have got to be okay with that. And if you live in a place of abundance, there will be 10 more lined up where that one just left.
Yeah, I think that's, again, it goes back to the mindset. And I see a ton of people asking for a fee schedule in the chat. We're not going to send one out right now, but I think that's definitely a project that our team at TMR maybe we'll be able to tackle in the future. And again, I see a ton of questions coming in. I know I'm not going to be able to get to them all, so I am going to do my best to have Jamie and Tiffany back when we can schedule some more sessions, maybe coming up in September. So keep any questions you have in mind, and we're gonna keep going through them. So I do have 10 more minutes left, and I want to ask Jamie. I want to ask you a question next that came in earlier in the week from Ansley. So the question is: currently, I charge a fee as a retainer that goes into their travel once they book, but I want to start outright charging a fee. What always stops me is seeing some of my peers from my host agency who never charge fees, and they do very well. In the past, when I've tried to charge a fee myself, and the potential client always said, well, other agents don't charge fees. I wish we would all just start. My question is, how do I get over the fear of losing the client, especially in these times when I'm not booking a lot right now? And I know you've answered this question a couple of times, but I'm just wondering if you could address that one.
Absolutely. So the most important thing that you have to have is confidence. Confidence is key. My mom taught me a long time ago that if I'm on the phone with somebody and I'm feeling a little bit, I'm feeling a lack of confidence, to just stand up. And just the act of standing up, it opens your lungs, it opens your body, and you exude more confidence. And so I do that sometimes. But when I'm talking to clients, I mean, the big thing is it is not about, when I do my consultation, you know, I have a new client and I start out by explaining to them right off the bat, look, we're not going to talk about the trip you called me for. I want to understand you. I want to know, you know, what you do, how many kids you have. I want to build a relationship with them so that they feel a connection. And from that point on, you know, I ask a lot of questions and I ask a lot of open-ended questions. And if they start to give me one-word answers, I dig. All I do is dig. I feel like I'm digging to China or something. I don't know. But, and once we get to the trip part, and I can start to use some of the information that I gathered from that consultation from the beginning part to tie in what I'm trying to paint a picture for their trip. I can say, you know, food is really important, and I understand that, you know, you're a Michelin star diner, and what I'm thinking is Italy has, you know, so many Michelin star restaurants, and this would be a great, you know, great option for you and your spouse or whatever it is. And then I go into, you know, and this is how I work. And I go through all of the services that are going to be applicable to their specific trip, because I have a list, a lengthy, probably 100+ things that, you know, I do for my clients depending on the type of trip they're taking. And I go through and, you know, these are some of the amenities that I can secure for you, and I'm here for you, you know, anytime you need me prior to the trip, and then 24 hours a day while you're traveling. I want to understand everything that you loved and didn't like about the trip, so that when we work together again in the future, that I can continue to create that. So I'm from that very first consult, creating stickiness with that client so that they feel like, oh, she asked questions that I would have never thought were important for this trip. And then I say, and this is how I work, and this is how I get compensated. I am all about transparency. And I find that somebody asked a question earlier about millennials, that millennials want transparency. They want to understand, like, okay, I know that she needs to make a living, and I know that, you know, she's successful, but how is she successful? I want to understand that. I want to understand where my money is going. And so I do provide a little level of transparency. I let clients know I am going to either, you know, book a hotel direct because the value is better for you, or I'll book it through a wholesaler because I can get a better value for you. But you're hiring me to work on your behalf. And so I'm very different from a lot of other travel agencies or a lot of other travel advisors that are only working for you based on how they are going to get paid the most on the back end from the supplier. You're hiring me to work on your behalf, and I don't care how I get paid from the back end on the supplier, because you're paying me to put this trip together. And then I present and I say, for this trip, my fee is going to be, you know, X. Or sometimes I'll give them a range if it's a complicated FIT and I don't exactly know the specific. And then I let them know, you know, the next steps for me are that I'm going to complete a DocuSign service agreement for you. And I'm going to put the parameters of the trip in the service agreement. Please look it over. Let me know if you have any questions. Once I receive that back from you with your credit card authorization form, I'll get started on planning your trip, and I'll have a proposal to you in X amount of days or a week or whatever that might be. And I send it off to them, and the ball's in their court. If I don't hear from them in a couple days, I'll follow up just like any salesperson would be, because guess what, guys, we're in sales. And I'll follow up with them and continue to show that I'm engaged with them, but I will not do anything else about that trip until I actually get payment.
Yeah. Again, I think it goes back to having confidence. There's a lot of people in the chat who mentioned that just listening to you guys, their self-esteem is going up, and even in this time of sort of uncertainty, yeah, they know they should value themselves a little more. I also saw a bunch of people asking about if we're going to host this video. Again, I'm going to drop the YouTube channel in there. It's going to be up later today. We promise we'll get the video up later today so you can watch it in full and watch it again if you want to. So I have 5 minutes left. I want to give you two the opportunity to sort of mention anything that you think we missed, anything that's important, but also to mention sort of where people can reach you and how you can help them moving forward. So Tiffany, if you want to go first, we'd love to sort of hear a wrap up from you.
Yeah, I think, you know, the biggest thing is quality. It's all about quality. You're providing a quality experience. You're focusing on some of the most memorable times of people's lives. And, you know, you see people out there spending money on Louis Vuitton handbags and Mercedes-Benz vehicles. And why do people buy those products? Because they see that they're getting quality. So you've really got to, you know, maybe some of you need to step up your game. Maybe you need to provide additional services. But if you do that, it's going to take more time. And guess what? If it takes more time, you're going to be able to deal with less people. So there you're focusing on quality. Wouldn't it be nice to make more money from less people? And there is a chart that I have that I can share that basically shows you how you can increase your prices and decrease your sales and still maintain the same profit margin. And so I just feel like it's a shift in your perspective. It is a shift in your mindset. If you don't feel like you're worth it, nobody you talk to is ever going to feel like you're worth it. You have to get over the hurdle. You have to be very confident in your worth and what you do for the people that hire you. And yeah, the info at travelconsultingassociates.com is how people can reach Jamie and I. And this is definitely a topic we are both very passionate about. I learned everything I need to know about fees from Dr. Bob Jocelyn back in the 90s when the airlines pulled the rug out from under us. And I'll be honest, it was one of the best things that happened to our industry, because I don't know many industries or many business owners out there that want their revenue controlled by something they have zero control over. Our fees and our services are what we have control over. And if you want to take control of your business during this time, this is the #1 way to do it.
Yeah, that's well said, Tiffany. And I'm gonna try to grab your chart later today so we can host it on TMR when we send out this video tomorrow. But Jamie, I want to give you the same opportunity to sort of wrap everything up.
Just remember that if we're all in this together, there's enough clients for everybody to go around. And if we can all get on the same page as an industry, it's going to be better for everybody. Lift yourselves up. Have confidence in yourself. Have value in yourself. Know that you're worth more than I'm a free service, because nothing is free in this world. People will pay $50 for an airline seat. I learned that from Bob Jocelyn. They will pay $50 for an airline seat, and they won't pay you to plan their entire trip. They're not worth being a client. So have confidence in yourself. Just take this opportunity. COVID, this pandemic has been the best opportunity to totally reinvent your business. And when we come out of this on the other end, we can create a business that we are proud to work in, that we're happy, that we know that we're getting compensated for our time, that we have better work-life balance, the whole 9 yards. I mean, it burned to the ground. We're building it back up. And now is the time, better than ever, to charge those fees and to realize your self-worth.
Well, I want to thank you both so much for joining me for an hour, and I'm going to try to get you guys back on a little later in the year. It's absolutely humbling talking to two people like you who have so much self-confidence in yourselves and your business. So thank you so much. For everyone else, I want to remind you that we're going to have Sonia Weston on next week to talk about how to remain current on all these travel trends and cancellations and things like that. So please register. Please join me next week. And thank you all for lending me your hour today. So thank you very much, and hopefully see you guys soon.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.